Hello, I hope you are doing well, and I hope that you can hear me well despite my microphone. So, this is my presentation. The title is Persuasive Games Designing to Fail. Before I start, I just want to do a little recap of the previous class about rhetorics. So yeah, we saw the different connotations that rhetorics have, particularly in the classical Aristotle way, and in its modern connotation, both explaining how this technique has been used for trying to convince an audience. Apart from the definition of rhetorics, here we have another two other definitions. So persuade is a verb used for saying when someone is trying to convince someone through an argument. We also pass from the classical tradition for considering rhetorics as something performed orally to how religion, politics, and publicity, radio, and movies, etc., use it as well. We also saw a bit of Ian Bogo's persuasive games and how video games also use them for communicating an idea. The topic that I want to talk about, and something that I realized about some persuasive games, is how some of them are designed for the player to fail, to make them learn about the message the developers want to make. So for this, I am doing a presentation based on this paper. Making People Fail, Failing to Learn Through Games and Making by Brienne Litz and Denis Ramirez. In this paper, they demonstrate a need to broaden our definition of failure and reconceptualize it as an integral part of the learning process. Rather than stigmatizing failure as a harmful endpoint to learning. I am going to talk about some browser games that, through their inevitable failure, you can learn from it. According to Jesper Juul's stereotypical casual games, the following share the characteristics of having light or non-game conventions and low time investment and low difficulty. The positive fiction could be a bit tricky. So let's start. The first game that I want to talk about is this Artist Survival Simulator by the artist collective Nix. This is a short browser game about surviving as a working artist, inspired by the designer's own experiences, in which one must balance making money, creating art, and inspiring oneself on a month-by-month basis. Was developed in the Twain engine by Gabriel Widing with illustrations by Alvin Werel. Nix is an artist collective from Sweden, and they have done pieces, workshops, and practice-based research in a wide range of contexts, producing mostly performance art. So for the gameplay of this game, the game begins by asking you 3 times whether or not you really want to embark on this life. After clicking yes 3 times, you are informed that you just completed your studies in fine arts. Your inspiration is strong, and soon you'll find out that your inspiration increases and decreases depending on your actions throughout the game. It also says that you have worked while you were in college, so you've got 5,000 euros saved up. Each month, you're giving 4 options that you can make art, you can work for a living, or you can apply for a grant, or you can go on an inspirational excursion. Depending on how high or low your inspiration may be, you might create anything from a timeless painting to a controversial monument to a mediocre sound artwork. Regardless of what you create, you are not going to make any money from it. So let's say that you decide to spend a month working, at least you can make money, but the problem is that each month you spend working, your inspiration decreases. And as your inspiration decreases, your art becomes less and less impressive. And once you have totally run out of inspiration, your artistic career is over. Also, each month, your living expenses total 1000 euros. So as soon as you're out of euros, the game ends. So you have to choose an option depending on these factors. There is a way for you to increase your inspiration. You can go on an inspirational excursion, but the problem is that they cost 2000 euros, which means that as soon as you return, you're in danger of running out of money. You can also apply for a grant, but much as in real life, there is no way to predict whether or not you'll actually get the grant. If you do get it, you'll be able to spend a few months creating art, but if you don't, it just means that you've wasted an entire month and you're down another 1000 euros. So the challenge is to balance the need for money with the need for inspiration, because as soon as you run out of money and or inspiration, you're informed that maybe it's time to start thinking about paying back your student loans. So how does this game use persuasion? In a few words, Artist Survival Simulator game is trying to make a point about the difficulties of being an artist, and it could possibly influence and convince people considering to study something related with art that this could be their lifestyle if they choose this path. My opinion about this is, well, I would say that this game is a bit contradictory, because in one hand is too optimistic, because it would be nice to be able to reliably find paying work only on the months but you want to, and to be able to randomly fly around the world every few months, or to get a 6000 grant even once a year. And in the other hand, it suggests that the idea of how difficult being an artist is. And also, every time you click work for a living, you lose artistic inspiration, and every time you blow your savings on an inspirational excursion, you get more excited about making art. I think that's not how artist works. And also, I think making a game that states if you get a day job, you'll lose inspiration and never create art is a bit of a dangerous presumption. Uh, and also, how does this game is designed to fail, or uses this failure mechanic? Because in this game, eventually you will run out of money or inspiration. I would say that this game is designed for you to make you fail, for making the player realize how difficult it is to live the life as an artist. And so, okay, let's pass to the next game. The next game is called Love Cat by Mary Boland. And well, this is also a browser game, and it is intended to highlight and inform people about cat sterilization. Basically, what you do in this game is click on the cats to sterilize them and avoid them to reproduce. After you press the play button, a screen appears displaying that you have adopted two lovely cats. After you press the continue button, the game will start. First, you can see that two cats laying somewhere on the screen, and on the top you can see a user interface bar displaying the total of cats on screen, the cats sterilized and the months that have passed. When you first start the game, you don't really know what is going on, so you wait for a couple of seconds, and now you see that the cats start to reproduce. If you don't sterilize the first two cats quickly, you are going to have a difficult time trying to sterilize them, sterilize the others that will appear. So yeah, eventually you will have the screen full of cats like this. After you have reached month 60, the game will stop and it will display the number of cats that you have managed to sterilize and the number of cats that appeared on screen. After you click the continue button, a screen appears showing some information regarding the benefits of sterilization. Lastly, if you click this button, it will show the last screen with this relevant information about cat overpopulation and the possible fate of most of the kittens, reinforcing the message about sterilizing your cat or cats, and lastly by saying, do you like your cat? Then sterilize it. Mm, After this, you're given the chance to play the game again for sterilizing the two first cats quickly. If you do so, if you click them on a ribbon will appear indicating that you have sterilized them. After you have been successful doing so, this screen will appear saying the following. Thank you for your cats. You sterilized them before they have a huge offspring. Um, so how does this game uses persuasion? Well, I think that this game manages to use it quite well, the technique of persuasion, by demonstrating very straightforward the problem of not sterilizing your cat and producing cat overpopulation. Um, the thing that perhaps I would criticize is that the developer displays only the problem of cat overpopulation within in-game actions, and afterwards introduces other real-world problems regarding the future of the offspring by extra diegetic text, leaving perhaps these strong arguments relying on these elements, and also stating definitive numbers without giving any credible source, making the player doubt about the veracity of this information. And well, also, how does this game designed for failure? Well, I would say that the strongest argument that this game makes comes from failing to sterilize the two original cats and see the whole screen being filled with them in a matter of seconds, later by telling you the possible problems that offsprings will have in the future. So I would argue that this game was designed in a way for you to fail, sterilizing the first two cats and learn from that. And passing to the last game. This game is called Evolution by Blackthorn Prod. Evolution is a game made by a video game YouTuber and tutorial teacher kind of called Noah Callis for the Ludum Dare 42 game jam, where the theme was running out of space. It is a base building game where you actively take part in the destruction of the planet by building increasingly polluting buildings. He describes this game as an interactive glimpse on what's going on in the world. For the gameplay, first you can see this green-friendly planet in the center of the screen with some building options at the bottom. You can also appreciate a small sun icon at the top left corner, and this will indicate some kind of resources that you're obtaining passively at a certain rate, somewhat similar to the suns you obtain in the mobile game Plants vs. Zombies. You start by placing some windmills in some small villages on the planet, sometimes replacing the already existing trees. Actually, the only way the player can build this is by doing so on top of the green environments. By doing so, you are able to increase the rate on which you obtain these sun resources and obtain the possibility to acquire new buildings. Each building and environment piece is scaled up slightly, so you want to unlock them and acquire them also because they increase the rate on which you obtain sun resources. Windmill and quiet little villages are soon replaced by castles and then electric weird telecom towers, so soon quickly pulling up horrible smoky pipes and skyscrapers. Everything you hover or click with the mouse reacts with some particle effect, with making the players wanting to keep clicking and seeing the planet evolution. Also, with each building you place, a little human car or helicopter or plane spawns in its place, which would move around the planet, adding that feeling of running out of space and reinforcing the idea of overpopulation. Um, each building has a danger level, and depending on the total danger of each building in game, the planet sprite will change as well as the sky color. The planet has 12 states, gradually changing from a happy green to a nasty red colored planet looking ready to explode. Eventually the world will explode, leaving the planet look like a skull. And so how does this game use persuasion? I would say that this game poses a situation of inevitable failure for the future of our world if we don't do something about it, and the only way this game displays a solution to pollution and overpopulation is by destroying current buildings and place clean energy buildings instead. My opinion about this is that I wouldn't exactly call it a glimpse on what's going on in the world as the developer described it, though, because I think it's a lot more complicated than just creating buildings and having more people causes planetary destruction. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to implement alternatives to our current energy solutions into society. And so, how is this game designed for you to fail? Well, the player doesn't really have much choice in this game rather than placing buildings. You can try to fix the planet by replacing the skyscrapers and the smoky pipes with windmills, turning the planet green once again, but then again the game will continue forever. It is designed for the player to destroy the planet in order to finish the game. Regarding to the opening menu screen, the developer purposefully wanted to mislead the players on what this game was really about. He actually mentioned this on his YouTube video. I wanted to fool the player as much as possible, believing that this game was about strategy, resource management, and eventually glory and riches, so the realization could be more shocking. And yeah, well, for the conclusion of this presentation, with the previous games examples that I chose, we can appreciate that in some cases, particularly games that try to persuade their players or to think in a particular way, uses this technique of designing to fail for making the resolution of the game more shocking to the player and at the same time reinforcing the message that the developers want to communicate. Thanks a lot, and well, here are my references. I will send this presentation so you can see it, okay? Well, I hope you keep healthy and see you. Ciao.